Hello, what's up? Today we're talking about this little sculpture right here. Last video we talked about another sculpture. Today we're going to talk about this one. This is Otto. That's his name. He's a little robot sculpture. He's also one of my original characters, and yeah, we're going to just talk about the history, talk about his character, this particular sculpture itself, like how it was made, yada yada. Let's get into it. I don't know where to start, so I will start with just how it was made and when I did it. So this one is one of the newer pieces that I've made. This one is back in, I don't know, I have my phone this time to look at dates of things, because in the last video I didn't know off the top of my head when things were made. But this one was made just a couple months ago. Gosh, I've done a lot of stuff since then, actually. Okay. April 28th was when I finished this one of 2024. And I started this one back in February, maybe. And when I mean started, I mean I made the armature for it. And if you're unfamiliar, armature is just basically your skeleton of the sculpture. So you can use different things, but what I use is aluminum foil and wire. So I made his body shape out of foil, and then the skeleton out of wire, and then you cover those with clay, and that's when you get to sculpt, because you actually cannot, at least for polymer clay, you cannot use like a full, like this, if this was a full block of clay, it wouldn't bake. So you have to do an armature. But I started it and then I put it off for a little bit, and then I don't know what provoked me to finish it, but I was like, we're gonna finish it, and we're gonna finish it now. So that's what I did. Finish it April, what'd I say, 28th? Yeah, this one, once I started going, didn't take too long to do. I think it took like a day or two, because I like to split my sculpting into like sessions. I don't like to do a full sculpt start to finish. So I did like the top half of the body the first day, the legs and the arms the second day, and then the third day I painted it. I have an entire video making this start to finish on YouTube if you want to watch. You can click around and find it. And there's also a few art and chat episodes where you can watch me make it in real time, and I talk about who knows what. I don't know what I talked about in those videos. It's different every time. But yeah, this one was the first sculpture I had made in a long time, probably a year. I hadn't sculpted or made like a full sculpture like this one. It's tiny, but I mean like a full piece for probably a year at the point of finishing this, because all of the second half of 2023 was spent making the ghosty sculptures, which are little figurine sculptures that I make every Halloween season, which have now kind of trickled in through different times throughout the year. And I spent all of my time on that because it's just me running this business and my social medias, so it took all of my time, and I didn't get to sculpt anything new. So this is the newest edition. Apart from a different sculpture, you can see it right here. This is a Melanie Martinez sculpture, which I started years ago, and then procrastinated, and then finished it in May, somewhere around there. I don't know, April, May. But yeah, the Otto sculpture. This one I'm really proud of. This is one that I am happy with all the details on it. There's a ton of little details like the scuffs on his legs, the little marks, I did a lot of painting details in terms of like weathering his metal. He's a metal robot. So there's just lots of detail on it, and I'm really happy with it. And this one also is on my shop if you want to get it. And just like the last sculpture I talked about, my asteroid sculpture, I sculpt each of them individually. I remake it. Yeah. So if you want to get one, you can get one, and it's all made by me. But this, I don't know, I'm just so happy with all the detailing in it, and I like how I make these ones. I think these ones are really fun to make. I just made one for somebody who ordered one, and then I have another one that I have to finish in 2 days and get it shipped out. So that's kind of why I decided to talk about the sculpture, because I have to finish another one right now. But yeah, that's the history on when it was made. This one is also polymer clay, made out of polymer clay. What? It's polymer clay. What am I saying? Polymer clay made out of polymer clay, and painted with acrylic paints. Again, no meaning behind this piece particularly. This is more just like a visualization of him, in a 3D space, but it's just to have like a character sculpture. I also use my sculptures as references, because I can visualize. I can obviously visualize the character in its full 360 view to sculpt it. Like, you have to be able to do that in order to sculpt the character. But when it comes to drawing them and putting them in different scenes and giving them different poses, I sometimes struggle with making different poses and different angles. So having a physical piece helps me with those angles. If I need like a shot where it's looking down on him, then I can use this as kind of like a reference to take a photo of the angle that I want, and then I can use it to draw kind of the way you use those mannequins that you pose, the wooden mannequins that everybody has. But I don't have one, actually. I don't have one of those. I used to. I don't know where it is. I don't use it. But yeah, so that specific piece doesn't have an intended purpose other than to signify him as the character of Otto, and I use it as a reference, and I display it in my room. But there's no meaning behind that specific piece. Otto as a character is what I want to talk about next, like just who he is and his backstory a little bit. I think I've touched on it before in a different art and chat video. I think I talked about him at some point. Because I remember speaking, maybe it was in a TikTok or something, I don't know. I have no idea. Once I post things, I forget what I said. I don't know what I said in what video and at what time. So forgive me if you've already heard this, but you can skip around. Otto is a robot who was designed and created by the Space Force, which is basically the government up in space in Asteroid's universe. So Asteroid is from space. And again, if you're unfamiliar, Asteroid is my other original character, and he's like my main character. He's the moon guy. He's everywhere. If you check any of my social medias, he's all over the place. He's my main character. Otto is Asteroid's like best friend, sidekick character, and he was created by the Space Force to be like a teacher's aide in classrooms. But that's not like what he does now, but that was his original purpose. And there's actually a scene one day that I will do where Otto is in the classroom that Asteroid was in as a kid, and there's a scene where they're together and like Otto is just there. Like the two of them meet prior to when they meet and become friends later, many years later. But Otto, there's an entire fleet of robots like him that look just like him, and they used to be like school aides, so he's very smart. He knows a lot of things. He's programmed to have like an extensive range of knowledge. He's basically like Google in a robot. And he's quick-witted, he's smart, he's sharp, but he's very silly, goofy. He has a big personality. He's very poignant, sharp. He's sharp in the mind, like quick and sharp, but he's also very sharp as in like reactive. He's very emotional. He is very passionate about things, and especially about the people that he cares about, because he doesn't have a family. He's a robot. He was created by these aliens. He doesn't have parents. He doesn't have siblings. I mean, technically, like the other robots that were made could be his siblings, but he doesn't have family. So Asteroid and Lucille, who is the other main character, the three of them are like the main characters. Asteroid is number one, and then we have Lucille and Otto. So Asteroid and Lucille are Otto's like main family, and he is so passionate about them and cares about them and will go to any length he can to protect them. That's the kind of character that he is, you know? So, back up in space. I sound crazy every time I explain this, and I always get nervous explaining these because I'm like, I sound ridiculous that I've crafted and created this entire thing up here. It's all just up here at all times of the day. I sound crazy. I know. Otto is in the schools. At some point down the line of history, the Space Force decides that Otto's design is not like kid friendly and isn't like super comforting, and I guess some of the alien kids are not liking it anymore. So they take out all of his design out of the schools, including him. And he loved being a teacher's aide. He loved it so much. It was his favorite thing to do. He loved the kids. He loved being around them and helping them and feeling like he was included in something and important in something as well. Not just included, but like he had a purpose and a meaning. So when they took him and all of his other siblings out of the schools, he kind of became angry, and he has like some like temperament issues. He's got a little anger issues going on at times, and due to this like malfunction of his programming and his personality and his mind, a lot of the other robots that are his same model kind of had that same response. So they ended up turning his model into like a government aid and would send them on missions to like go after criminals and keep the peace, and not necessarily like a police officer or like a guard of any kind, but they're more just like, they're like the production assistant of the space government. And I say that because I used to be a production assistant on TV shows and stuff. So they kind of like did everything and did stuff that was way out of their scope of what they should be doing. And they're tiny too. Like he's a tiny little robot. He's like 3 feet tall. He's tiny, but they equipped them with like some upgraded modifications, and they have like some built-in features and some weapons, just a little bit, nothing crazy, but they do have like some self-defense things. And so Otto hated that. He hated having to do these missions and like go after criminals and do like the dirty work for the government, and he didn't like it. He didn't feel fulfilled. He didn't feel like he was doing good. And his like anger and his strong feelings like continued to grow and became more and more not aggressive, but they just became more and more at the forefront of who he was and his personality. So the government ended up putting him in even like worse conditions, and they had to modify him multiple times, which was the equivalent of just like going through like crazy surgeries for us. His backstory to me is similar to Rocket from Guardians of the Galaxy. I love Rocket. He's one of my favorite characters of all time. And if you saw Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, you know what I'm talking about. It was just heartbreaking. So Otto is like the Rocket of the Asteroid universe. I'm not going to give away all the crazy lore and the details of the things, because I want him to have his own series or comic book series or animated series. I don't know what it's going to be for him, but I do want to keep that stuff for the time that is ready to be told. But he went through a lot, and so he became very detached from everything, you know. He was sent on more intense missions, and because of his responses to what the government was doing, they cared even less and less about him the more he reacted. So they would lock him up, they would leave him disheveled and broken for months at a time, and he wasn't cared for, and a lot of stuff. So he was finally sent on what would be his final mission with the space government, Space Force, and that final mission is when Asteroid leaves space to come down to Earth. These are all things that I've like touched on before and will be told in detail and in like a much better way as well. Like it's all planned out very detailed. I have it all written down, but it will be a trilogy novel series. Like that is the main body of work that I will do in my lifetime. I think will be the Asteroid trilogy, and that first book in the trilogy is all about asteroids flee from space to come to Earth. And you know, what I'm telling you doesn't spoil any of that. This is just like the premise of his story. But that trilogy series is going to be my main project, and finishing the books, and then I would love to turn them into movies one day if I get the chance. And yeah, that's my life's work right there, that trilogy series. So Asteroid's or Otto's final mission was to go after Asteroid, and within that mission, Asteroid and Otto became friends, and Asteroid just was really touched him and made Otto feel like he was seen and heard and listened to and cared for, and wasn't treated like some useless piece of junk, you know. He felt like there was somebody that cared for him, so that's why they became such good friends and are best buds now, you know. There's obviously a lot more, and you will find that out one day in that trilogy series. But that's kind of the overview of who Otto is. But because of his like rocky past and his intense feelings and the abuse that he had endured, he's hot-headed. He is, again, passionate and just like will rip you apart physically and mentally. And he will, like, if you come after Asteroid and you come after Lucille, he's bringing out the weapons and he's going for you like you're dead. Not really, because he's not that violent yet. I've never, so far in my mind and in the universe, he's never done anything crazy. But like, he's a loyal friend, and he will be the one to go beat someone up if you need it. Which is I just think is silly, because he's 3 feet tall and he's more or less like a cute design. Like, what do you think he's gonna do to you? Nothing. So I find it ironic or just unexpected. So I think it's silly, but he's just a very unique personality. He's got a lot of, things that don't really align, but like make sense for him. Like I said, he's very, very intelligent, very smart about a lot of things. He knows a lot of things, but then at the same time, he's like clumsy and careless. So like a lot of things don't line up, and that is just a product of how many times he was rewired and the wiring that is literally in his body, because he's an electronic robot. I kind of did that with like the intent of showcasing like how much he's been literally taken apart and built back together and rewired and given new firmware and given these updates and things that sometimes don't really make sense. And he will do things that are like, what? Why would he do that? He knows better. So he's not perfect at all. And he's got a lot of faults, but he's got a ton of redeeming qualities, and he's super, like I said, he's super caring, and he's super passionate, and he's loyal, and he's a great friend to Asteroid and to Lucille, and they love him dearly. He is not the baby of the group, but I think just because he is tiny that they do baby him and care for him differently, despite the fact that if he is left alone, he would be more than fine. He can handle himself. But yeah, as he becomes friends with Asteroid and Lucille, he softens up and he becomes more and more approachable, and he becomes more loving and more personable, but he never becomes like outgoing. He's never going to be a people person. He's not like that. He's very recluse and keeps to himself unless otherwise he's provoked. Whereas Asteroid is Asteroid's similar in the way that he doesn't want to be around people if he doesn't need to be, but he's also curious about people. Asteroid wants to know about humans. He wants to learn about them. That's his whole point of coming to Earth. Well, not the whole point, but a big purpose of him coming to Earth is to like interact with people. But through being here, he realizes how scary it is, and that's his own journey. Lucille is somebody who's very outgoing when she needs to be. Doesn't have a problem talking to people. She doesn't love it, but she doesn't struggle with it. She's fine to talk to people, and she's very good at it. She's persuasive, but I will talk about her in her own video. And she is the next sculpture that I'm going to make. Or, I don't know. The next sculptures that I want to make are the Wicked sculptures. I want to make a Glinda and Elphaba sculpture, so I don't know what the timeline is going to be. But it's either her or it's the Wicked sculptures, but that's Otto. This piece is unintentionally to scale. This is my asteroid puppet that I made like 2 years ago. Again, this piece will get its own video at some point, and we'll talk more about asteroid, but I unintentionally made him to scale. Like, I want him to be that tiny, you know? So, he's tiny. He's a little guy. Asteroid, here's some canon information. Asteroid's 5'10". He's the same height as me. So, yeah, Otto's like 3 feet tall, maybe, somewhere around there. Yeah, but he's a little guy, and this was completely on accident. I didn't measure it, and then I put them next to each other, and I was like, oh my gosh, they're like accurate to size, and he looks so tiny and cute, and it's so cool. So that was a cool moment when I like finished it and put it next to this puppet, and I was like, they're just the same. Like, it's perfect. So, yeah. Here are some old sketches. I've shown these before too. These are some of the old sketch designs of Otto. This was like one of the first designs I ever thought of, which is not the move. But yeah, I wanted to make him just not like a robot we've seen before, you know? He's not revolutionary or anything, but I wanted to include, I love having little like whirly loops. I do that a lot. And yeah, these are from January of 2023. So he's been around for a little bit, not as long as Asteroid. I probably had the idea for Otto back in like October of 2022-ish, and then I started to work on him at the end of 2022 into 2023, and yeah, here we are. But there's a lot more that I want to do with Otto. I intend to give every character their own like spin-off series, whether it's a book, comic books, animated series, short stories, something like that. I intend for all of them to have their own spotlight at some point. By characters, I mean the 3 of them: Asteroid, Otto, and Lucille. Not all the characters, because then that would be crazy. I wonder how many characters I have. I don't even know. I couldn't even tell you right now. I think I have. There's them 3. I have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 different ghosty designs. So they technically are all characters. 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. There's at least 35 characters that I have. Granted, half of them are ghosties, but there's at least 35 right now, and there will be more, for sure. I'm still working on, like, the first stories that I want to tell, and, yeah, there's a lot to do, but that's a little bit about Asteroid and a little bit about this sculpture. I think that's all I have to say for now. If you have any questions about him, let me know. If you want to learn more about him and his story, comment away. I'll answer them. And eventually we will get some kind of a proper story telling thing about him. You're going to learn the most about him in Asteroids Rodeo, which is like the novel that I'm writing right now, that I'm sort of posting online. I talked about it in the last video. There's 2 chapters out right now that you can go read. on my website or on Instagram, and I'm writing chapter 3 right now to post it soon. And that's kind of just like, I don't have intentions of not ever, but I don't have intentions of publishing it and making that like a main book, but that's more so just like so that I have stories that you can read online for free and not have to buy, but then you can still understand the characters without it giving away the lore from the original trilogy series that'll come out in a long time. Like, that's going to take years to do. But anyways, that's it. Thanks for watching. Leave any questions, comments down below. That is my little auto sculpture all explained. I don't know I don't even know what to title these videos. I'm just calling them explaining my art, but I don't think that's even a good title. But that's him. That's his character. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what I'm going to do next for this video, but that's Asteroid. Otto. Sorry, I get them mixed up I say each of their names all the time, and they're similar. Otto, Asteroid. I don't know why I did that. It's difficult for me even, but that's it. I'll see you in the next video. Everybody say goodbye to Otto. Okay, goodbye.